Yeah, D with YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Melissa Marie, and I actually have been thinking about how I'm going to revamp my content coming up for this new year, doing a lot of content planning, and I want to incorporate story times. Okay, starting with this video, as you can see by the title, this is going to be a story time, and I'm going to do nursing school, like nursing related story times and just regular life related story times. I got a lot of stories to talk about. I've been through a lot of stuff. So if you are interested in any of those things that I mentioned, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the little bell, wherever it is. Hit the little bell so that you can get notified whenever I upload a video. So today I wanted to do a little story time about one of the funniest clinical instructors I've ever had. She was legit hilarious, and not in a good way. We're gonna call her Professor E for extra, because she was always doing the fucking most. So once upon a time, not long ago, I was a hoe, and I'm admitting it. I won't take it back because I did the shit. I was a hoe. No, once upon a time, not long ago, I was in my mental health / psychiatric disorder clinical rotation at the psychiatric hospital in Pennsylvania. I gotta say, outside of my NICU / mother baby rotation, the psych rotation was my favorite. I could definitely be a psych nurse. It could definitely happen for me. We'll see what happens in the future. It's really fun to be busting it up with your patients, plotting against the FBI who's sitting in the room with us. So you gotta be on your toes. You gotta stay on your toes, because at any point you could become an op and they could turn on you, and then, you know, it's a safety hazard. But yeah, I really love that. So it was a really good rotation, except for this 1 week. Because we're doing mental health, drugs play a very big part in people having mental health crises. So whether they're having a psychotic break, they might need to be medicated so that they're not a danger to themselves or other people, or if they're going through a withdrawal from, you know, an overdose or whatever it is, or they have a drug addiction and they're going through withdrawal, that could also cause them to be committed to the psychiatric wing. So whatever they're going through, drugs might play a big role in it, right? So because of that, whenever we had clinical, we always spent at least an hour or two going over different medications, psychiatric medications, or street drugs that might play a role in our clinical rotation. And so on week 4, we talked about marijuana. Now, I'm personally not a smoker. I'm not a smoker by any means. I have tried it, you know, I've dibbled and dabbled probably less times than I could put on one hand. So I'm like very much not a smoker. And actually, I think I have an intolerance from my daddy, because he had a street apothecary, if you know what I mean. He was a pharmacist. He just did not go to pharmacy school for it, but he was a pharmacist, okay? So I think because of him, I really do have a tolerance. So yeah, I'm not a smoker by any means. I just don't like when people say things that are incorrect. So she's going through the topic of marijuana, and she's just hitting it heavy. And when I mean heavy, she's hitting it heavier than the heroin we talked about, the cocaine, the Xannies, the K2, which is a big thing in Philly if you're from the Philly area. The K2 synthetic shit, she's hitting it bigger than all of that. She's coming at marijuana like it is the worst drug to exist. So she starts off by saying all of these really outlandish facts. She's like, marijuana is the biggest gateway drug that exists. And I'm sure we've all heard that before. It's the biggest gateway drug that exists. If you smoke marijuana, you are 90% likely to do cocaine the next week and heroin the next week. It's just going to ripple effect into each other. And smoking marijuana is really not good because da-da-da-da. And if you ever get any patients who admit to smoking marijuana, you should get them into an addiction program, or try to encourage them to stop and let them know how bad it is, because it is so bad. And I'm looking at her like, what the hell is she talking about? Girl. So, you know, I just had to insert myself there a little bit. I could have just let it go, but I couldn't actually. I could not have let it go. I don't let things go. You can ask my fiance. I don't let shit go. As I've said to you guys before, I'm really big on neurological disorders, or just neuroscience in general. It's just really, really interesting to me. And I have a soft spot for children who have seizure disorders or epilepsy, because I did do a externship in that for a couple of years. And so I'm really sensitive to that. So I looked at her and I was like, okay, well, Professor, what do you have to say about all the children in Colorado, Seattle, Portland, Oregon, or, you know, whatever areas that they were in, the studies that I had to give her? What do you say about those kids who, because of the marijuana, they are literally being able to live normal, regular lives? They can go to school. Their parents are having less of a strain in terms of being worried, not sleeping at night because they're worried their kid gonna have a seizure and die. You know, what do you have to say about those kids? Because they're thriving off the Mary J, you know? She barely let me finish what I had to say. Her head whipped and she was like, no, that's not right. It's not helping them. It's not helping them. God is helping them.
No, God, no.
I was like, oh my gosh, she need to relax, cause wow. So then she went further on. She started to continue to explain, I guess, her statistics that she had about marijuana and how it kills you. And so she was saying that studies show that marijuana has harsher effects than lithium, than oxycodone. You can be addicted for longer. It's more dangerous when you're driving if you're on marijuana versus if you're on oxy. She was saying these statistics that are not true. Mind you, let me set the room for you. Let me set the whole room for you. My clinical professor is this white lady. She's very Catholic. I went to a Catholic nursing school, by the way. And all other 8 ladies are white girls. Then there's me, obviously I'm black, bitch. And then there's the girl to my right who was also black. So, and she's a smoker, actually. She's one of my good friends. She's a smoker, and she started to get offended now. So now she's jumping in. So she's like, Professor, so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. I learned this, I learned that. And the professor is not having it. She's coming down both of our necks now. But it's just a really funny image when you think about it. The 2 black girls sitting here defending weed, and the 8 white girls not saying shit, and the professor coming at our necks. Not to be stereotypical, but you know, at this point, she's pushing my buttons, so I'm pushing hers right back. I'm like, well, what do you say about the people who culturally, this is a cultural thing for them? There are some people who marijuana is a lifestyle, but it's a religious / cultural thing, and I quoted some Rastafarianism. I have uncles who are Rastas or whatever the case is, so I'm like, what about those people? It's not a religion. God looks down on that. And I'm like, Christianity is not the only religion, mama. There's a Muslim girl sitting right there. There are Muslim people. There's, you know, what are you talking about? So I'm letting her talk. I'm just, at this point, I'm sitting right next to the professor, by the way. She's like right next to me, then the other black girl, then the other white ones, because we were at a round table. So at a point, because she was talking so heavy, spit was flying out of her mouth at me. So I had to stop looking at her because she was about to get the fuck stopped. So I had to look straight ahead. So here I go looking ahead, trying to keep it professional. And here she is. Off the side of my head. And I'm like, yo, if one of her fingers slip and touch me, it's a wrap for me. I'm getting kicked out of nursing school. Mind you, the whole time I am being super professional. Like, because I know that I'm combating whatever she has to say, I'm making sure I don't come across as combative necessarily. I'm coming across as just, I have a disagreement and I would like to know more, Professor. Please provide me the information so that I can know. So I look at her again and I'm like, Professor, can you please tell me where you're getting these statistics from? Because from my statistics, I'm seeing this kind of data. And she's like, studies show that da-da-da-da-da-da, and studies show that da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, bitch, where the fuck is these studies? What studies is you talking about? Like, you know, that's a red flag. When somebody says studies show, that means they don't have no real statistics. They're just pulling things out of their ass to make it seem like they have some depth to back up their argument, but they don't have any. So I said, oh, what studies are these? They just exist. If you're in the nursing field and you know what evidence-based anything is, you would know what they are. And I was like, yo, who the fuck is she talking to? Who is she talking to? I had to also remember, we're in week 4. We have 2 more weeks of clinical, and she ultimately has my grades in her hands, right? So she could just fail me at any point. So I'm being mindful of that. I'm like, let me not piss her off too much, but I really want her to understand that she's not correct, and that marijuana, you know, has good and bad for a lot of people. And as somebody who is chronically ill, also, my doctors have talked to me about using medical marijuana to help me with some of my disease processes as well as chronic pain. I know some people who cannot exist in the day without their vape pen, and they have even just CBD ones, so you don't get the psychedelic effects, but they need that pen to help calm the pain that they're experiencing every day. Some chemo patients I have who are my support groups, same deal, like they use that to help them on a medical level. She said one more thing that set me off, and I can't even remember what she said. She was like, anybody who uses marijuana is a criminal, and it's a very criminal activity, and you should never support that. God looks down on all of that, and I'm so surprised that you would support any kind of criminal activity. You don't deserve to be a nurse if you are in favor of people participating in criminal activities, and if you're not going to provide them the best advice for their well-being and provide them with the best resources so that they can heal if they are involved in that, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Again, mind you, me and the black girl, the other black girl, she's sitting here using the word criminal and da-da-da. Girl, at that point I had to respectfully shut my ass up because I was finna snatch that stethoscope right off her damn neck. That's what it was about to be. And then I was gonna get kicked out. So at that point, when she started going, you criminals, da, 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 I legit had to turn my ears off. I had to turn my ears off. But let me just say how the clinical basically ended. So our clinical was supposed to end at 7 p.m. but it was already almost 8 p.m. So we were over like an hour with our clinical. So one of the girls who were in the clinical group was like, oh, professor, like I really have to go help my mom do so and so and so. And that is the only reason why she stopped coming at my neck. I had stopped debating with her, but she still kept coming for me. Like for the whole rest of that debrief of clinical, she was coming for me. She was saying, right, Melissa, right, Melissa, right, Melissa. And I'm like, yo, this lady is asking to be bopped. She's asking at this point. So yeah, the only reason why we got let go to go home was because the young lady had to go help her mom or whatever. And she was like, okay, oh wow, I kept you guys over. I didn't even realize, like, okay, you guys, yes, you guys can go. And I'm like, okay, thank God we can go. So I'm packing up my stuff, putting my stuff all together to go in my clinical bag. And as I'm walking out the door, she's like, Melissa, I hope that you take this conversation seriously and go home and do some research and learn about the effects of marijuana, because it's very serious and it's an epidemic in this city. Philadelphia has so many people, so many young people who are using marijuana, and they're gonna end up dead. They're gonna end up dead. And I was like, no, this girl is really not. I'm halfway out the damn door. Can she stop talking to me? So I just let her go off. I didn't know what the hell she was saying after that, because I had to tune out, like I said, because I was getting angry. After she did that, I just walked out the damn door, and the girls, they were cracking up. The white girls and the black girl, they were all cracking up like, yo, she's really the most. She's really doing the most. Come to find out that half of them white girls also smoke. So I'm like, okay, well, y'all was quiet. And they were like, well, that wasn't my battle. Wasn't my battle to jump into. You right, it wasn't. Okay, heard. At the end, when she wrote my final evaluation, she did say, like, Melissa has passionate viewpoints about things that she needs to research on, or some shit like that she put in my eval. She's still giving my A though, so that's all that matters. That is my story time about how I almost got into a fight with my clinical instructor about marijuana, something I don't even deal with, but I just felt like I had to defend it for the culture. I don't know. I just felt like I had to defend the point. If you guys like this story time, make sure you comment down below and let me know. I got story times for days. So the purpose of these story times is really not going to be anything serious. If you are looking for my serious videos, you can go ahead and click through any of these ones that are up here. There's so many to go through, but this is more of like a break from the serious. It's to provide some comic relief. It's to allow you to get to know me a little bit better. I mean, my personality probably comes across in some videos, but not really all videos. I feel like it will come across more in a story time because it's a damn story time. Like, okay, so yeah, that's my story time for today. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Look more.